The season for the Arizona Cardinals absolutely dismantled in every way possible by the Carolina Panthers. There was a 34-10 drubbing at the hands of Carolina, and is it 6 straight for the Panthers? Cam Newton is the ghost that won't stop haunting Arizona Cardinal fans' nightmares. Let's get into this contest. It's our post-game knee-jerk reaction. Brack, Alex Clancy, it's Locked on Cardinals. We're not holding back.
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Woo! That was ugly. That was absolutely just atrocious. No fun to watch. There was like no redeeming qualities to this contest between the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers absolutely won in every facet of the game, 34-10. And yeah, it does. I see you, Fender FPS. It was kind of giving you a flashback to thinner years for the Arizona Cardinals. It was not good. As much confidence as people had in Colt McCoy, just wasn't it today for the Red Sea. Pick a fumble to start things off. We're here to talk about it. You're commenting in the chats. You'll see those flash up here. If you're following along on YouTube, you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, however you may be tuned in. Thank you for joining us. I know that we've talked about better things throughout this season, but if you can kind of wash your hands of that's the biggest, most important thing of all of this, is to kind of have that goldfish mentality and forget about this thing. Anything that happened in Glendale at State Farm Stadium today, forget about it.
Yeah, that was a nice attempt there. Forget about it. Like if you would have told me through 10 weeks the Cardinals would be a top 3 seed in the NFC when the season started, I'd tell you to stop. You need to be drug tested. I mean, honestly, we thought the Cardinals would progress, but the fact that they're 8-2 going into week 11, in the grand scheme, it's a blip more than anything. They were playing with none of their starters. No Kyler Murray, no JJ Watt, no DeAndre Hopkins. So this wasn't a full team versus full team drubbing. Like if that would have been the case, obviously we'd be talking a much different tune right now. But the fact that it was ugly, but it was Colt McCoy, and this was the other spectrum of what a backup quarterback could bring. This was a no doubter from the first second of the game. What was it? The second snap? Yeah. When Colt McCoy fumbled the ball, this was just a yuck fest that lasted 60 minutes. The Cardinals have a week to, soak this in and then go to Seattle, who lost today in Green Bay with Russell Wilson, who looked terrible.
Yeah, looked awful. I mean, if there's a silver lining of this loss, it's that, the Seattle lost, but then the Green Bay Packers were able to rebound after a bad loss. As far as the bigger picture and that number 1 overall seed, you see it from Legend Morris. Yeah, fine going 1-on-1 with your backup quarterback in the lineup without really your number 1 receiver there. I mean, last week the team was up against the wall even more so than this week. And it just wasn't, it was just a bad mix. It was just a bad mix. There was tape of Colt McCoy running this offense. We saw that Carolina was not going to allow all the plays behind the line of scrimmage or just like way before the sticks to happen. And they were taking it away. There was a lot of team speed on that Carolina defense. That's going to be one of those teams going forward. Like they're back in the mix. Like Carolina's back in the mix. That's a team I'm intrigued by how they performed today. Like a tip of the cap to the Panthers. As bad as the Arizona Cardinals played, the Panthers played really well. I mean, you have Colt McCoy fumbles. It sets up Cam Newton coming from the clouds. He signs late this week, and he comes in, he scores a rushing touchdown, what we've seen so many times in his career. On his first touch, he gets penalized as well. He's got like the old Gordie Howe hat trick there. I mean, 1 touch, 1 TD, 1 penalty. And then, Cliff Kingsbury makes a really poor decision in going for it on 4th and 1, especially with the play call. And the Arizona Cardinals, they're down 14-0 before you know it. And then you realize, oh, crap, they just can't move the ball. Like Carolina was just better on defense today.
Yeah. And again, they had their 1s against the Cardinals 2s. This is the thing, like we talked about this around the San Francisco game, but it was really more geared towards this in hindsight that Buffalo lost to Jacksonville. Denver walloped Dallas. And you look at what happened with those two teams today, they bounced back. So the Cardinals will have a chance to bounce back. But the truth of the matter is they've lost 2 out of 3 after starting 7-0. They've lost 2 out of 3. This is the regroup time where an adult franchise that's pivoting away to the new culture that they have, hopefully get DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray back next week, and you go and take care of business in the Pacific Northwest and regain authority over the NFC West, because you look at Monday night, I mean, you're going to assume that the Rams are going to win, even though it's on the road in San Francisco, but these divisional games are weird. So all the Cardinals can look at right now is this was a terrible output performance-wise, but this was their freebie. Right. Not all teams get an opportunity to get a freebie. The Cardinals got a freebie. They used it. This is their mulligan. This is their breakfast ball on the first tee of the second half of the NFL season. And then you have to go in next Sunday and take care of business. Because if you lose 3 out of 4, then we have a conversation going into the bye. How serious is this Cardinals team as a playoff contender?
And it's fair. And if you start to look at where the breakdowns were, I mean, it was beyond the offense. Sure, the defense was put in situations on a short field, but Christian McCaffrey had a field day in his first game back. He looked like peak Christian McCaffrey, and that's been the big, Achilles heel, whatever it may be, of this defense all season long. You know that you can get big chunk plays on the ground. They certainly did that in the Panthers offense. The Arizona Cardinals need to figure that out. They need to figure out how to get more pressure. You just didn't see enough pressure. It was just they didn't get to PJ Walker once this entire game. They didn't get to Cam Newton once. But the Arizona Cardinals certainly gave up their fair share of sacks. 4 sacks on the afternoon against that Arizona Cardinals offensive line. James Conner had a tougher day running the football, 10 carries for 39 yards. He did have a touchdown, leading the NFL in touchdowns now with his 11th rushing score, 12, a dozen TDs overall. It was just one of those things where you can't really find anything. You can't try to take the chicken crap and make chicken salad out of it today. And it's like if Cliff Kingsbury truly is Ted Lasso, take a quote from Ted Lasso, and the happiest animal in the world is the goldfish because it has a 10-second memory. Forget about this game, but you got to learn from it. You got to move forward and somehow figure out how you're going to get pressure and get the quarterback onto the ground like you were doing so well. Alex, I mean, this is a team where we didn't see anything. This game did not remind me a bit, not a single drive of the 2021 Arizona Cardinals that we've watched so far. It was a team that was that would win the turnover battle, like the turnover differential. They didn't even come close to winning that today. They didn't have any ability to really get off the field. We knew about this Vance Joseph defense that was so good on third down. It was great on fourth down. They just couldn't get off the field. Like the Panthers just kept on moving the chains, continuing drives, and wearing out this defense, putting up points. And then when the Arizona Cardinals offense came out on the field, it was just flat all afternoon.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at it, and again, let me just remind everybody, NFL players are human beings, and they get tired. So regardless of how good a defense is, if they're on the field for 37 minutes, like the Cardinals defense was today, it's like, there's no way you're going to win games like that, regardless of who's playing. Like, even if it was Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, and this was happening, like sustained drives on offense, running the ball and playing good defense is how you win Super Bowls. And the Cardinals it just didn't happen. Now, the one saving grace, the one, bright spot of this, if you're going to say one, is it wasn't Kyler Murray and it wasn't DeAndre Hopkins. That's the only excuse or reason as to why this could possibly have happened. Now, moving forward, they're going to play a couple teams that are going to be fringe out of playoff contention. Chicago, the Colts, etc. down the road that have to be must wins for the Cardinals. And don't think for a second that those teams are going to lay down or see this game. Now the Cardinals are vulnerable. The Thursday night game, sure. Who knows? AJ Green, 6 games with Kyler Murray, 7 games with Kyler Murray. Maybe they didn't know the play. This puts the NFL on watch. Like there is now, a sliver, like a crack in the armor for the Arizona Cardinals. Like, hey, maybe they are pretenders. Maybe they don't know. It really is going to come down to next week, which Kyler Murray needs to play.
Yeah.
He needs to play next week. And if the Cardinals get a W in Seattle, all will be forgotten. If the Cardinals lose next week, we have a completely, again, different conversation going into their bye week in week 12.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And I think at this point, they're going to stop being super, overcautious with their quarterback, and it's time to get Kyler back in there. I'd be curious to see how close he was this week, but we saw him on the sidelines once again wearing the hoodie and street clothes instead of out there in the shotgun or under center for the Arizona Cardinals. So here's how things are going to work. We're doing a live post-game show after each and every Arizona Cardinals game the rest of the season. We're doing our halftime show. That's not going to change. And then right after this, Alex and I are going to record our post-game podcast. You can find this show in podcast form, and then you can find tomorrow underneath your tree in a tightly like a really nicely wrapped present, your Monday podcast. And we're going to premiere that YouTube show at 10 a.m., just like we do each and every episode of Locked On Cardinals. Everybody, thank you for tuning in to this post-game reaction after the stinker game. We wish there was better results, but there wasn't. Can the Arizona Cardinals kind of wash their hands of this ugly display of football and move forward to a big divisional game against the Seattle Seahawks? We're talking about it the next episode of Locked On Cardinals, which you can find. That'll hit at midnight. The YouTube show will premiere at 10, as I said. Make sure you're following along on Twitter at Clancy's Corner, at Locked On AZ Cards, and follow me, Bob Brack. Hope you enjoyed it. Join us anytime we're live. Get into the conversation. It's encouraged, whether you agree with us, and even more so if you don't. It's a better discussion that way. Let's do it. Let's talk some more cards. Listen to our podcast. It's coming up. Look for it at midnight tonight. Talk to you guys soon.